Hi guys, it's Jared from Paranormal now, and this is our February 2021 connecting code video. As normal, these videos will be split into two parts. The first part will be the predictions. The second half will be the analysis of the predictions that were made in January and what was right and what happened and what didn't happen. These predictions are done by a brilliant lady who comes on our show every month, An Nichols George. She is a code interpreter, so she works with things like astrology, numerology, different sort of divination techniques, and she's kind of put them all sort of together into her own sort of technique of talking about what sort of things to expect, what the energy is going to be like, what type of things we might see in February. Also, you can have a look at Anne's book. She produces a yearly book called The Code Journey, which outlines a day-to-day breakdown of things to look out for, different energies, different things to be aware of throughout the year ahead. And you can get that with a link on screen now, and I'll put that in the description below. Before we go into the video, I just very briefly want to say a quick thank you to Ben and Lainey, who you guys would have seen on one of our Now debates back in December, and they put an amazing video out last night featuring some of the work that we have done. And I just want to say an absolutely massive thank you to Ben, Lainey and Sam as well, who has been working with us. So thank you so much, you guys. I'd also like to welcome everyone who has joined our channel recently. We've noticed a massive group of you have joined. I'd like to say welcome to the channel. I hope we do cover a lot of things on this channel, and I hope that you guys just take a look around, see what works for you, see what you're drawn to, and take what works for you and leave the rest, because it is appealing to quite a wide range of people. And we just thank you so much for your support and your help and your feedback. And coming up on this Wednesday, so it's Wednesday the 10th of February, we are having an Ask Us Anything Now debate live. That's 8 o'clock British time. It's going to be Ask Us Anything. So any paranormal questions you guys have, whether it covers ghosts, haunting, psychic phenomena, spiritual development, ufology, what's going on in the world today, the Council of 12, any questions that you might have, then please do let us know, and we'll put a post up on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and I'll post it out on Twitter as well. If you guys got any questions, please let us know, and those posts will be up very, very shortly. Thanks very much, guys. Here is the code interpretations for February 2021. This was recorded in the January Now debate that we did with Jessie Ann. Hope you enjoy.
February is going to be one of those months. It's going to feel a little heavier because
it always does.
No
month has the right to have 28 days. You know, why would March got too many? Just take one off the end of that. But I'm not got 31. Just like take like 2 or 3 of them off. So like February can have like 30 days. You know, there's no need for this. You can have 30 days. Not a leap year. You can have 31. You know, I don't like February. I've had many bad things have happened to me in February, actually, so I've lost some good people in February, so I hate February. Anyway, continue, please.
Yeah, February is a tough month, but part of this is it's asking us to buckle down and meet our responsibilities and obligations. So it's really kind of a working month. We're going to have to really put in the energy. We're going to need to put in the effort. It can be a good time for us to tackle really big projects, but we need to consider what can we do on our own. You might be able to paint a room on your own, but you may not be able to completely reconstruct and move walls around on your own, for example. So we need to kind of weigh that out. We need to make sure that we are really listening to our inner self, our soul self, that we are doing what is best for us instead of just following the crowd, or instead of just listening to what other people are telling us to do. In the first half of the month, we're going to see that advancement is a big priority. There's going to be a big push to advance things, I would say, during that time in February. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on clearing up what is blocking the success. So again, that ties right in with the advancement. It's a time of completing initiations and tests. So some of these battles that have been going on and along the way, hopefully are going to be getting cleaned up in that first couple of weeks of February. If we persist, we can see the breakthroughs, but we've got to persist. We need to focus on the breakthrough instead of breaking down. February is going to be that time, particularly the first half of it, where, right as you get to the end and right as you're on the edge of a breakthrough, you wonder if you've got enough energy to see it through. Sometimes you just want to walk away and give up. And what I have to say is, don't give up. Hang in there, because it's there. The breakthrough is there if you persist with it. As we look at the last, from like around the 19th, the second half of the month, basically, we're going to see a lot of conflict coming up for people, particularly conflict between materialism and the soul self. So we might see a lot of people starting to go, should I go ahead and get this shot and work for this company because I need the dollar and I need that income? Or, do I stand strong and follow my soul's path and what's really important to me, and not sacrifice my values and my ethics and things like this? So there are going to be a lot of decisions around money versus fulfillment. And, I say there's different things that work at different points, but you've got to really consider, what's going to make it through the long run, what you can deal with. Every person has to make that decision on their own. We will see some tension, some breaking down arising where people are just, are in that struggle. It's gonna be tough. There's gonna be some tensions around that. There's money tensions probably showing up in that second half of February. And we need to look really about how we remove that struggle, which means how can we lighten up, for example, financial obligations and responsibilities? Is there something that we could free up in our life, let go of, so that it doesn't place the extra financial burden on us in things? We may not need as much as we want to. And I think more and more people are going to be gravitating towards quality of life. And that's really what it's coming down to, is quality of life. And they're going to start reevaluating, saying, you know what, I don't really need these 5 things over here. I don't need to be spending money on that. I'd rather be out having fun in life. I'd rather be out having an experience in life. So that's kind of coming through. This is a big month where we need to take command of our own life. We need to stand strong in integrity. And those who lack integrity, the more something is out of integrity, the more likely we are to see it crash coming down. So that's all throughout the month that could happen. We're going to see a lot of danger surface where freedom is restricted. And there's going to be a two-edged thing happening here. On one hand, this is going to drive people more towards self-sufficiency because they don't want somebody else to have control over the freedom that they have. But those who try to clamp down with stronger and stronger restrictions are more likely to see a backlash. We're more likely to see danger arise in some shape or form around that. We're also going to want to pay attention to weather patterns and not take chances because, Richard might want to go out and chase some storms. I don't know. But we're definitely going to have some unexpected storm patterns. This could go two ways. I see it in my area where they say, oh, yeah, you're going to have 9 inches of snow, and then it fizzles down and we get like 1 inch. But it can go the other way, and they could say, well, there's 9 inches of snow, and then we end up with 2 feet. So we don't want to take chances where weather is involved. I do see that there is going to be some trauma coming up for people. It's probably going to be, again, directly connected to the choices they've been making along the way. And there's going to be some sudden shifts, some sudden changes, that things are going to come up that we just couldn't have planned for, we couldn't have prepared for. And all we can really do is find the inner peace and ride with the situation, and again start making those choices. Well, what can place me in a position of greater self-sufficiency? What can place me to where I'm not so dependent on everybody else? So I think that could even become something that we see in the world news, Jared, is this aspect of countries even perhaps considering how can we become more self-sufficient as a country on our own, and looking to our own internal resources than relying on every other country out there to take care of us and provide for our needs. So that could be something that comes up in the news. Lots of major transformation. I am showing death codes at this time. You said, you've personally experienced that with family. Lots of endings. This could be physical death. This could be mental, emotional things coming to completion. So it could be a variety of things.
I had the death card come up in the tarot last night. I did a tarot reading and I had a death card come up in that.
So, and just even in practical things, Jesse used to have an aunt that would say, if you could make it through February, you could make it the rest of the year, because that's like the hardest month.
It is
winter.
True. It's true.
That's the biggest challenge of the month. The winter month to get through, and that's when. Back in the prairie days and the colonial days, that was the biggest
I've always
challenging month to get through.
I've always said my favorite day of the year is March the 1st, because it's the longest possible time before more February. Just those of you guys who follow us on the channel know that one of the people I work with in spirit is my brother. But it was actually in February my brother passed away, and I lost my dad in February as well. So
it is hard anytime you lose somebody, that first year in particular. But when you have people that are really close to you, that can surface. Also in February, we're going to have to really be on guard, because I'm showing a lot of mind control energy coming up during that month. I'm seeing a lot of people struggling to keep their sanity during that month, which is going to be very challenging. So people need to really look at who their connections are that are positive for them, who are the people that can be their support system for them, and make sure that they're reaching out to those people if they feel themselves struggling at all. But I think that using craziness as a narrative could come out on a more public or in the news range. Again, I think we're going to see a stronger prevalence of mind control tactics being used. And why is that going to surface? Well, because whenever a faction of corruption is losing control, they're going to seek to use whatever methods they can to regain that control. And I think mind control is going to be one of the few tactics that they have left to work with. And really what it's going to come down to is it's about traumatizing people. If they traumatize people, they become easier to control. They become easier to convince them to go in the direction that they want. So we're going to have to be very, very on guard for that in February. And again, our relationships are going to be very, very critical. So this can bring some challenges in family aspects, but it's going to be important to meet and fulfill the obligations you have, whether that is to family, to partnerships. If you don't like those situations, then bring them to an end, and start to seek out whatever peaceful solutions you can unfold and open up. Instead of just in the first
You basically said about there's going to be a lot of people with cloudy minds and finding it very, very hard to think straight throughout the first couple of weeks of January. From a personal point of view, I can definitely attest to that. Actually getting going this year, there was a lot of things that sort of came up on a personal front. A lot of this has happened basically within the last 2 weeks, but like you said, there'll be a lot of public upheaval, a choice between violence and a choice between peaceful ways of changing things. Now, obviously, the biggest thing that would have caught most news outlets in this month would have been the Capitol Hill riot that took place on the very day that we were doing the last Now debate together. You also said about there being small sort of victories. Italy and I think some other places have now started reopening and coming out of the lockdowns, which I know, Richard, you've been heavily following. We have had. You also said we're going to see a lot of sort of falling in corruption and a lot of exposing of corruption. Now, we didn't see it in America, but we've definitely seen it in several other countries in the world, where we've had the Italian Prime Minister has had to resign. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel has announced that she's stepping down. The Dutch government has basically had to resign under the child benefit scandal. The Estonian government has collapsed or has gone into some huge trouble. I have got links for these. I will add these to the description below once we finish tonight's show. You also said there will be a lot illuminating about money, about the way in which... Now, this was really, really interesting because the UK government have announced that they lost $3 billion in funds managing the COVID crisis, and there's been legal action taken over that. It's announced today that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos is to step down this year. And the biggest thing that's to happen, which I thought was quite interesting, with what you said about people seeing how the money system is manipulated, and that's with Gamestop. Now, Gamestop is a huge video game retailer in the US, and basically a hedge fund, I don't know the full ins and outs. Again, I've got the article here, but GameStop, apparently a lot of one of the big hedge funders was trying to crash the stock, and a lot of very small investors put in little bits of money, which made the stock absolutely go skyrocket. And this has happened with several other companies, and it's created a disarray in the stock market because these billionaires are putting stops on stocks and shares being sold, and people are seeing how the market is not a free market anymore. You also said about different countries looking at the vaccine and how that's going to be and how that's being distributed and rolled out. Now, one of the huge things that we've had, apparently Britain has had quite a successful trial. Think of that, successful rollout so far. Think of that what you will. I'm not going to get into that debate at this particular moment. If you want to bring that up later, we can. But there's been a massive row with the EU because the EU have basically gotten hardly anywhere with theirs, and Britain basically had the blame. Now, a lot of the issue with that was this is all to do with the Pfizer vaccine. Now, I have been told and found from some sources that in America, a lot of the Pfizer ones went to waste because they were being held back until Biden got inaugurated so he could take the credit rather than Trump. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But what I found quite interesting is with the one that's made in the UK, the Astrozenica vaccine, they don't actually export the vaccine. They provide the patent so they can make it in their own countries. So there's been a massive row surrounding the vaccine rollout between Britain and Europe lately, which has been in the news. People reaching their breaking point. There's been huge protests around the world. You've had protests in Russia after the Nalvani jail sentencing, the reporter over there. You've had the farmers' protests in England, in India. No, in England, unfortunately. We've had the farmer protests in India. You've had mass protests in Turkey. You've had protests of Amazon warehouses in France because of working conditions. We've had protests, mass protests, and sadly some really bad riots in the Netherlands. You also said about looking at the breakthroughs and looking at who's speaking out about certain things. Now, Elon Musk, I've noticed, as much as I've criticised Elon Musk, he has spoke out about a few things this month. This one particularly, he's speaking out in support of decentralised currency with regards to Bitcoin. But there are other things I know that he has spoken out against this month. I think you drew my attention to that, Richard. Apparently, keep an eye on the Middle East. Well, as again, since Biden has been inaugurated, there is growing tensions with Iran, and I've noticed there's a lot of talk about troop movements in Syria as well, whether or not he is going to send troops back to Syria. And then we come to America, and you said about seeing about things being shown, right? And I made this observation of you had a group of people, celebrities and politicians of questionable values, stood on the steps of a building surrounded by 25,000 troops and a giant steel cage that would put a wrestler to shame, talking about love and unity. Biden has signed, on his first day of inauguration, signed 17 executive orders, and obviously we've got the Trump impeachment, which Trump has now launched his legal defence. His legal defence, as the best as I can tell, is to say that the impeachment is unconstitutional, and if they do decide to go ahead with a trial, one of the things that they are talking about doing is bringing in the FBI as witnesses to say that they knew planning was going on, so why wasn't Trump informed about the planning that was taking place? He was at the time President of the United States. You also got Florida governor is speaking out against big tech, and he's basically putting forward provisions regarding the censorship. Now, we have seen a lot of huge things, and you did say about technology. We have seen a large migration of people coming off the mainstream social networks, going over to places like Library, BitChute. We also saw the taking down of Parler. So we've seen this massive clampdown and massive monopolizing move by Google, because they have quietly been taken down. Obviously, Parler was in the public domain, but they've also quietly been taken down other video streaming competitors off the Play Store. So sites like Library no longer have apps on the Play Store because they are in direct competition with YouTube. And I'm saying the official excuse is they are breaking community guidelines. I'm sorry, but that has nothing to do with community guidelines. I can understand it with BitChute, because as much as BitChute is kind of good, I do think with BitChute they are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because they're concentrating mostly on the sort of alternative media, and I think that they do need to broaden their perspective a little bit. But that's just my personal take on BitChute as a platform itself. I can see if you're not really into the politics and things and you went on BitChute as a hosting platform, you will probably get deterred by some of the things that are on the front page. But a lot of people are migrating over to BitChute. And I'm not just talking about people who have been thrown off YouTube because of their points of view, and etc, etc. I'm more talking about, other outlets, more official outlets are starting to get a representation on BitChute as well. So it feels as if some of these competitors now are starting to get a bit of traction. And there has been questions raised as of today regarding voter irregularities with regards to the Democrat voter registration. I'm also getting very worrying reports coming out of the States about, though they say that the troops, National Guard, and this is from Fox News, so I don't actually know how truthful this is, but apparently because it was supposed that the troops would move out of Washington after the inauguration, but apparently more and more are coming in. And when Fox News reached out, they said because they are policing against harmful ideologies or something to that effect. I don't know if you can sort of raise some awareness of this. Obviously, you know, I'm gonna throw the floor open because before I make any further points, I want to throw the floor open to you guys and let me, you know, is there anything else that you can add to that you know, that's the breakdown I have found in the last couple of hours of researching. Any other developments, maybe some breakthroughs that have happened or whatever. Throwing the floor open.
I'm going to say a breakthrough that I'm noticing is happening out in California here in the States, and that is connected to a recall on Governor Newsom out there. Governor Newsom, excuse me. And they're just about have all of the signatures that they need to recall him. And this would be huge because Newsom is connected to Pelosi and connected to several other people. Those are family connections there, so to say. And he's been a pretty big stronghold, almost as much as Cuomo has been, in regards to the restrictions and implementing the heavy structures and dictator-style aspects, doing rolling blackouts there on a regular basis and limiting water and, I mean, just basic necessities.
Hi guys, it's Jared from Paranormal Now. I hope you like the channel and hope you like the content. If you do, check out some of the other videos on screen now and click the button below to subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you soon. Take care of yourselves.